All right, traders, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian from Hertz Tribeca Trade Group, and today is what, the 29th? 29th. 2 more days to go in August for the month. So we'll talk a little bit about today's price action. Pretty amazing across the board. S&P up 0.5%. Q's up. I was going to say well over 1%, but up decently over 1%, 1.15. IWM hanging strong in there too, a little bit of an underperformer, but still up 30 basis points. Really strong sector-wise. A bunch of different sectors I see on the top of the leaderboard. Solar names were strong today. I think that was mainly on CSIQ. The healthcare equipment stocks, that's the XHE ETF. I recently gave a video for Real Vision on a long idea for XHE. I think a lot of that was because of GKOS. I'll bring up the movers in this ETF. If you're not familiar with this ETF, it's a great ETF to get to know. It's up decently for the year. I think it's up around 30% year to date. But if you take a look at the holdings, as soon as this wants to come up on my screen, you could see that it's a lot of names like Tandem, Dex, some really high flyers. These are very high price stocks, but and they're a liquid too. So the ETF is a nice way to play it. So if I can bring up the movers, which is what I actually wanted to bring up here. I think it was GKOS up 40%. But look at some of these other names. I was long this name. I got out of it today. PEN, I got in around 123 after earnings, and I sold that at 134. But you could see a lot of these stocks. If you probably scroll down, or if you look at all securities, you're going to see a lot of these. ABMD is a $400. Whoops, is a $400 stock. Align is up there as well. Right? Was that ABMD? But you could. I think you can. Whoops. I think I went too far. Yeah, ABMD is a $400 stock. You can see ISRG is a $500 stock. So these are tough in my opinion to play in both options and in the stock itself. So anyway, real nice move. By the way, this at home is moving back. So this and the overall, all of biotech. This year has really been about the small caps. But today, actually, the larger caps got going. If you're not familiar with the, or if you haven't heard this video or me talk about it too much, but I probably mention it at least about once a week. About this is the greatest biotech rally that no one knew of, or that people are not watching. I think a lot of people continue to watch. What Celgene and Gilead are doing, Biogen, but the PSCH ETF, which is small cap healthcare, is up close to 50% at this point year to date. So this biotech rally has been all about the small caps, but it doesn't mean that the large caps can't at this point have a catch up trade. So that's what I've been in. I got long Celgene today. I put that out on Twitter last night. I did not enter it yesterday. It's tough. So right now it's really tough to it's really tough to manage trades in this environment when everything is going up. But I think there are still some things that look attractive right now. You got a little bit of a cup and handle here for IBB. This is a trade that I've been long for about a month. Where I sold put spreads and went long calls. So this is now a profitable trade for me as it just broke out today. But, you could take a look at Celgene, which is, why I went long this today. Forget about option activity. You don't need option activity to be a profitable option trader. Some of my best trades over the last couple of weeks have been in trades that don't see any option activity. I went over that. I'm not going to go over that this video, but you could do it both ways. You don't need option activity to pick some of these trades, as long as you've got the right management. But Celgene, real nice day today at 1.8%, above the 200-day moving average, which will be my stop. So really nice move there, and I think a couple other names in IBB. It wasn't just Celgene. I think the whole group. If I could try to bring this up again, I know, but this is takes a long time on my screen, but I think it's worthwhile because this is one of the best performing groups. Also, energy did okay today. That was up on the energy inventories. I'm just looking at the best of breed, the best sectors of the day. IGV was up another 1%. It's also one of my holdings. So yeah, you could see there's a bunch of names today that were up quite a lot. SGMO, which we saw call options yesterday, short-term momentum call buyers came in yesterday. I know that this name has some data coming out, I believe, next week, but it looks like it's seeing a run into very, a lot of congestion, by the way, in this name, this SGMO. So this looks like a pretty good chart, even though it's not above the 200-day moving average yet. Coming out of this congestion area, I think looks really good. So again, some things that are a little bit different. So let's talk about some of the high flyers today. Amazon crusher, absolute crusher at this point, up 3.4%, almost up to 2,000. So one of the catalysts today, which you could just turn on CNBC and probably listen to this, but there was a lot of price target raises. Morgan Stanley put the street high price target on Amazon as well as Google, which Google did not have. Google seems to just be moving a lot slower. It's moving in the right direction, but it's moving a little bit slower. And then there was a bunch of other price target raises. Zuo, which reports earnings tomorrow, or Zurora, I'm saying it wrong. I actually bought a little bit of this right on the lows of the day because someone slapped, I think it was Guggenheim, slapped a street high price target. If I get that wrong, I apologize. Square, also a street high price target put on this one as well. I think there was one or two other names, that same thing, street high price targets. So I don't know what was up with the brokers today. It could be that they're getting in their notes before everybody leaves, goes out of town for the long weekend. So sometimes that happens. Tuesday and Wednesday they throw out a bunch of notes, but there was a lot of bullish notes, which I think also gave some momentum to the stocks today. Before I talk about option activity, I want to just bring to your attention this huge trade that happened in the ETF world today. I mean, really, and keep in mind with this ETF, which I'm bringing up, consumer discretionary, XLY, Amazon is 25% of this ETF. I call it the poor man's way to get involved in Amazon. It's just a lot easier to do it. Now, of course, you have exposure to 75% of other things, but I think the consumer discretionary is a pretty good looking sector, which will bring me to the next stock I want to talk about, but that's also in consumer discretionary. But look at the trades. If you add these up, this is 800,000, this is 880,000, 879,000, 920,000, 991,000. If you add this up and compute the notional, it's about $400 million of notional. So you thought nobody was going to be in this way. You thought people were going to be on vacation. As I was expecting. I read some of those bullish notes, but you can't be on vacation for someone to put on a $400 million trade. You could see 4.5 million shares traded right here. Again, that is no small order, and that was aggressive. Just how sometimes a lot of people talk about option flow as sweeps when they go ahead and lift the offer. Same thing. That's marked as sweep. So 4.5 million. I'll just do the math again. Times 117. That's over $500 million in one trade, or in one 5-minute span. So again, see this IS on the modifier against it. That's intermarket sweep. So they're doing the same thing. When I used to trade ETFs, I would be doing the sweeping. I would be lifting the offer and printing the trade above the offer, and that basically sweeps all the exchanges and all the prices up to a certain point, and it gets marked on the tape as sweep, right? So that's how it works. It's and people say aggressive. It's an aggressive buyer. Yeah, it's somebody who's got a pretty decent sized trade to do, or an aggressive trade to do. In this sense, it's a very large trade. So that brings me. So if you go through, right, and look at the whole, look what's in here, which we did this during the midday session today. But I started to go through some of the charts in here because I think buying consumer discretionary up here after it's kind of blown out to the upside is not something that I want to do right now. But some of the constituents, you could go through the charts and you can kind of analyze and go through some of these. And one of the ones that I think that looks attractive is this guy, Disney. And take a look at what this, Disney ran up like crazy into their earnings quarter, too much so. They had fine earnings. I think people, dwelled on the ESPN stuff, but it's sitting just right back in here and just digesting. So also take note of what they did in options today. These are, speaking of sweeps, these are just some of the aggressive trades. They went after some November calls, a lot of October 120 calls, right? So then it becomes, and this is the strategy that we go over every day in the trading room, do I want to buy the 120 calls, right? So where's 120? I can't even see it on my screen. It's all the way up here. I like Disney, but I don't need to go into the 120 calls. Could it happen by October? Sure, anything could happen. But I would rather, but what I did was I bought the 120, the 115 calls. And it's something like this where the implied volatility, if you look at the IV, right, it's not that expensive. It's about 19% implied volatility. I view anything over 30 is on the expensive side. So, it's an 18. So I don't mind buying the 115 calls, which is what I did. I think that's more of a higher probability of a trade working. Of course, it needs to move up, but I like that trade a little bit better. So I started that as well today. So again, not really looking to kind of add much risk into today, but I like a couple of the setups. I did take a target in Celgene today, so I took some off the table. Option activity, days like this, before I even go into some of the trades, you're going to see a lot of momentum stuff. If you're looking to day trade, perfect. With the momentum that call buying does, you could day trade to your heart's content. If you're looking for swing trades, mainly most of these are very short-term option trades. For example, MGM, there was some momentum in that name today. Great for a day trade. Keep in mind they seem to buy MGM calls before the Macau numbers and the Vegas numbers, which I think come out tomorrow. So people take a shot at those. But this is really short-term option stuff. To me, these are not trades to put swing trades on, right? Yandex, a lot of Yandex calls, but this is next week's calls. So now previously they've also gone after October calls, but you'd probably be down decent amount of money if you followed those trades. So if you're going to put a swing trade on, my point is, and again, this video is for information purposes only, but they're only going out and looking for a very short-term move. In my opinion, a lot of money is lost when you go after such short-term moves, but sometimes they work. I personally would either buy stock in this one or go out and give yourself plenty of time if you like Yandex. But that's me. I'm a little bit different. I use option activity a little bit different than some others do. PAA saw some calls. ITW saw some calls that expire tomorrow. Dow DuPont saw a little bit more calls today, but you could see quite a bit of activity and a lot of short-term stuff. All right, so that's today's video. On days like this, again, and I know I've been preaching this all week long, but I try to clean out as many short-term option plays that I have on. Even if some of them are call spreads. So a lot of that was for me taking a lot of money off the table, even though I did add 2 trades, especially on days like this when everything is moving up. I want to make sure that if I'm adding a couple trades, that I'm taking off more than I'm adding on days like these. All right, so that's it. We are having a trader meetup today in New York City. Hope to see you there if you're a member, and have a great night.